There was a lady sitting next to me who was seemingly translating the movie for her friend, but she wasn't whispering. She was speaking at a normal conversational volume. The worst part was that her translations were wrong. The character would say, "I love you," and she would say, "He says he is hungry." It was infuriating trying to filter out her incorrect commentary while watching the film. I went to a midnight showing of a highly anticipated franchise movie. A guy ran into the theater right as the opening credits started, stood at the front of the screen, and shouted a massive spoiler about who dies at the end of the movie. Then he ran out the emergency exit. The mood in the room instantly dropped from excitement to pure rage. I think if the crowd had caught him, he wouldn't have made it home. I used to work at a theater where we had luxury reclining seats. We found out that a couple had used the back row to actually sleep for the night. They bought tickets to the last show, hid in the bathroom during cleaning, and then went back into the theater to sleep on the recliners until the morning shift came in. We found them because they were snoring so loudly during the morning sound check. I went to see a quiet, intense horror movie last week. About 20 minutes in, a woman in the row in front of me pulled out her phone, not just to text, but to FaceTime someone. She held the phone up to the screen so the person on the other end could watch the movie, and she kept narrating what was happening at full volume. When the usher finally came over to kick her out, she screamed that she had rights to share the experience and tried to bite him. A family brought their iPad-addicted toddler to an R-rated action movie. They didn't want the kid to watch the violence, so they gave him the iPad with headphones. The problem was, the headphones weren't plugged in all the way. So during a tense standoff scene in the movie, the entire theater was blasted with the Baby Shark song on a loop. The parents ignored it for 5 minutes until someone threw a piece of popcorn at them. I sat behind a woman who had the brightness on her phone set to the power of 1,000 suns. She wasn't just checking the time, she was scrolling through Instagram and liking photos. Every time she swiped, the bright white light illuminated the dark theater. I leaned forward and asked her to dim it or put it away, and she rolled her eyes and turned the phone slightly away from me, but kept scrolling. During a very serious, dramatic biopic, a guy in the front row fell asleep. He started snoring so loudly that it sounded like a chainsaw. People were throwing popcorn at him to wake him up, but he was out cold. Then, suddenly, he woke up with a loud snort and a scream, clearly having a nightmare. He stood up, looked around confused, shouted, "Where am I?" and then ran out of the theater. I saw a group of people bring in a full fast food meal, burgers, fries, and large sodas. They proceeded to have a food fight in the middle of the movie. They were throwing fries at each other and squirting ketchup packets onto the people in the row in front of them. When security came, they claimed it was an accident. Who accidentally squirts ketchup on a stranger's head? A mother brought her 3 kids to the movies, bought them tickets, sat them down with snacks, and then left. She treated the movie theater like a daycare. The kids, unsupervised, ran up and down the aisles, climbed over seats, and threw ice at the screen. The staff had to pause the movie, find the kids, and wait for the police to contact the mother who was at a bar down the street. I was sitting next to a guy who was reacting to the movie way too physically. It was an action movie, and every time the main character threw a punch, this guy would throw a punch in the air. At one point, he got too enthusiastic and actually backhanded the elderly woman sitting next to him. He apologized profusely, but the poor lady was terrified and moved 5 rows away. I used to work concessions at a theater. We had a guy come out of a movie that had been playing for 2.5 hours. He walked up to the counter with an empty large popcorn bucket and an empty large soda cup. He slammed them on the counter and demanded a full refund for his ticket and the snacks because the popcorn was too salty and the movie was too long. He literally consumed everything and watched the entire film before deciding he wanted his money back. There is nothing worse than the commentator. I sat near a guy who felt the need to predict every scene. "Oh, don't go in there. He's definitely the killer. Watch out behind you." He was wrong about 50% of the time, but he never stopped talking. It's like he thought he was recording a DVD commentary track for a live audience who didn't ask for it. A couple came in with a flashlight, not a phone light, a literal heavy-duty flashlight looking for their seats 10 minutes after the movie started. They shined the beam directly into people's faces as they walked down the aisle, blinding everyone. Then, once they sat down, they kept turning it on to look for snacks in their bag. It was like a police interrogation every time they wanted a gummy bear. I witnessed a fight break out over an armrest. Two grown men were sitting next to each other, and both wanted the shared armrest. It started with aggressive elbow nudging, then escalated to verbal threats, and finally, one guy poured his soda into the other guy's lap. The movie hadn't even started yet. This was during the pre-show trivia. Both of them were escorted out in handcuffs. I saw a lady changing her nail polish during the movie. The smell of acetone is incredibly strong and chemical. It filled the whole theater. Everyone was looking around trying to find the source of the toxic fumes. She was just happily painting her nails neon pink in the dark. I have no idea how she expected it to look good without light, but the smell gave everyone a headache. A group of people opened the emergency exit door at the bottom of the theater to let their friends sneak in without paying. Not only did this flood the dark theater with blinding daylight from the parking lot, destroying the immersion, but it also set off the silent alarm. The movie stopped, the house lights came on, and security came in to catch the freeloaders. I was at a 3D movie, and the kid behind me kept poking the back of my head. I turned around and he said, "I'm trying to touch the things coming out of the screen." He thought the 3D effects were physically floating in the room near my head. His parents thought it was adorable and refused to make him stop. I spent the movie dodging a sticky child's hand. I was at a movie where a guy clearly smuggled in glass bottles of beer. About an hour in, he accidentally kicked one over. We just heard the clink, clink, clink of a glass bottle rolling all the way down the sloped concrete floor from the back row to the front. Then, 10 minutes later, he did it again. By the end of the movie, the front row looked like a recycling center, and the whole place smelled like stale beer.